Hello and welcome. You are listening to the Fertility in Focus podcast. I'm your host, Christina Burns, doctor of Eastern medicine and holistic fertility expert. In these weekly sessions, I'll be bringing you the best of advice on nutrition, lifestyle, and natural medicine to optimize your fertility. Let's jump into today's episode. Hey everyone, welcome back. So today we're going to explore a topic that's going to help you regulate your stress response, your anxiety, your moods, your overall nervous system as you go through this journey. And I would say stress and anxiety are one of the major side effects of maybe a journey to get pregnant that isn't exactly what you thought it would be. And the studies are lacking in terms of the direct response of stress on your fertility. We can understand how it kind of indirectly affects things just because elevated cortisol levels, for example, suppress ovarian function. In women with PCOS, it can make the cycles more irregular. For example, in women with endometriosis, it could create more inflammation. In pretty much anyone, it causes free radical damage because it can cause a lot of oxidative stress with breakdown of tissue. Also, with stress, we tend to not digest as well because stress directly affects the nervous system and the receptors in the digestive system. We know IBS and indigestion, acid reflux are often stress induced. And so if you're not digesting your food, you can imagine you're not getting adequate nutrients. And again, you could have, with poor digestion, a little bit of fermentation of the food, which could lead to yeast overgrowth. Bacterias, could have potentially some endometritis, could have just more inflammation because your digestive system is inflamed and it houses 80% of your immune system. So, stress is important physiologically because it does affect all the adjacencies to getting pregnant. It also depletes your progesterone levels, which are essential for implantation. Now, I don't want to focus a ton on being stressed out because it's more stressful. So we're going to focus this session on how to reduce your stress in such a pleasant way that doesn't really put a ton of responsibility onto you to become a master meditator, but rather it's to integrate more music into your life. And I'm going to explain a little bit about the research and how music interacts with your nervous system and what kind of music you'd be looking for to help you feel more calm and more peaceful in this process, that would hopefully have a benefit for your fertility too. So let's talk about a bit about the experience of stress, because it basically arises when an individual perceives the demands from the environment as taxing or exceeding his or her resources and endangering his or her well-being. Accordingly, physiologic stress effects are regulated by top-down central nervous system processes. So cognitive stress is I can't cope with the situation, as well as subcortical processes within the limbic system, like emotional stress, which is experienced as anxiety. Both areas forward the message, I am in danger, via neuronal pathways to the central nervous system, and directly to the control system, which is the hypothalamus. Now, the hypothalamus is obviously a major factor in the stress response, but it also happens to be very important in terms of hormonal regulation. The hypothalamus is closely intertwined with two major stress systems, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, HPA axis, and the sympathetic nervous system, the SNS. And that's the physiologic stress component, which involves endocrine, which are hormonal and autonomous responses. So this physiologic stress, like when it's entered your physiology and these hormonal aspects are changing, higher cortisol, higher insulin, release of more blood sugar into the system to get you prepared to run. That is, where we're worried about it affecting more of the fertility aspect. That said, it all makes you miserable. Nobody wants to feel that way all the time. We sometimes get addicted to feeling that way, but I don't think anybody really wants the experience of being in fight or flight all the time. So together, the HPA axis, so the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, and the SNS, the sympathetic nervous system, orchestrate various psychological meaning emotional processing, and physiological, which are hormonal and cardiovascular activation processes to ensure the maintenance of homeostasis of the entire you that's being challenged by the experience of stress. Ladies, I have worked for years to put together a guidebook for this crazy fertility journey. It's called the Ultimate Fertility Guidebook. It contains all of my secrets, my hacks, everything to do with herbs, supplements, how to integrate acupuncture into your fertility treatment, how to eat for your cycle, how to eat for IVF, basically everything natural fertility and IVF, how to understand your hormones, how your body works, what mindfulness practices to do, how to exercise. Everything is contained within these 300 pages, and it is now available for sale on Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Target, Walmart, and all the other online outlets and in stores. Music can have a profound effect on both the emotions and the physiology of the body. Faster music can make you feel more alert and concentrate better. Upbeat music can make you feel more optimistic and positive about life. A slower tempo can quiet your mind and relax your muscles, making you feel soothed while releasing the stress of the day. Music is effective for relaxation and stress management overall, and it's just such a treat. Research confirms these more personal experiences with music. Current findings indicate that music around 60 beats per minute can cause the brain to synchronize with the beat, causing alpha brainwaves, frequencies from 8 to 14 hertz or 8 to 14 cycles per second. The alpha brainwave is what is present when we are relaxed and conscious. To induce sleep, a delta brainwave of 5 hertz is what we're achieving. A person may need to devote at least 45 minutes in a relaxed position to get to that point by listening to calm music. Researchers at Stanford University have said that listening to music seems to be able to change brain functioning to the same extent as medication, which is completely amazing, that instead of taking a medication, or if you feel like your medication isn't going all the way for you, you could be integrating this music therapy. The researchers at Stanford noted that music is something that almost anybody can access and makes it an easy stress reduction tool. You can listen to it on the go. You can listen to it lying down. I can tell you that music brings so much happiness to my life and a feeling of freedom when things are feeling a little too heavy, such as when you just can't see the end in sight, right? Sometimes we just need to feel a bit free in the moment. Music has been shown to activate some of the broadest and most diverse networks of the brain. Of course, music activates the auditory cortex in the temporal lobes close to your ears, but that's just the beginning. The parts of the brain involved in emotion are not only activated during emotional music, they are also synchronized. Music also activates a variety of memory regions, and interestingly, music activates the motor system. In fact, it has been theorized that it is the activation of the brain's motor system that allows us to pick out the beat of the music even before we start tapping our foot to it. So why am I telling you all of this? Because we're getting to, what type of music you can listen to reduce your stress and to calm your physiology and to give you peace and some happiness throughout this process. So the types of music that have been found to be the most effective are Native American, Celtic, Indian stringed instruments, drums, and flutes. These are the most effective in research for relaxing the mind, even if they're played quite loud. And I actually, didn't find this that surprising because these are traditional old forms of music, right? They've been around forever. Like there's something, there's some kind of depth to that, to those original sounds. Also not surprising, sounds of nature, rain, thunder, and nature sounds overall were also found to be quite relaxing, particularly when mixed with other music that I found kind of interesting, like jazz or classical and easy listening music. So there's still, even with the nature sounds, some kind of rhythm behind it seems to be more effective than the nature sounds on their own. Although I do play nature sounds for my patients undergoing acupuncture, and they seem to be quite relaxing. I also play Indian flutes and a variety of other relaxing types of music to kind of assist with the process. I mentioned earlier in the research that it was like a certain amount of beats per second or per minute, those hertz, to get you a certain brainwave, the relaxation brainwave. However, we're rarely told how many beats per minute or matching that up, though I'm sure you could actually just look on a music app, and I'm sure there's relaxing music apps where you could find this information to see which ones would be the ones to bring you that form of relaxation. But there's also the importance of you first liking the music being played for it to be able to relax you. So I do suggest going on an app or even going to iTunes or something, or Spotify or whatever, and listening to some tracks of this relaxing type music, some of these traditional musics, and see what just immediately resonates with you. Like at the moment, I'm learning to play this instrument called the handpan. It's not well known. It sounds like it's from the heavens to me, and every time I hear it, I feel amazing. And so, that might not be the experience for everyone, but it's definitely the experience for some. So it will be hopefully some fun exploring for you. And sometimes it's also just going to some live music. Doesn't have to be like a 11 p.m. concert in a bar. Could be some of, the summer festivities out in the parks and what have you. And just also feeling that vibe of community and togetherness, and how that puts your system at ease. This session is, yes, it's about the physiology of stress and how that's not great for fertility outcomes, but it's also about you finding happiness and something within yourself again throughout this process. And to me, that's very, very important. So a little more research before we part here. There were 60 healthy female volunteers who were exposed to standardized psychological stress after having been randomly assigned to one of 3 conditions prior to the stress test. They either got relaxing music, the sound of rippling water, or rest without acoustic stimulation. And their salivary cortisol, so their cortisol level, the stress hormone levels, were measured through the saliva, through cortisol and alpha amylase. Their heart rate was also taken. Their respiratory sinus arrhythmia was also taken. These are basically markers for the stress response. The subjective stress perception and anxiety were repeatedly assessed in all subjects, like asking them about their stress response. The 3 conditions significantly differed regarding their cortisol response to the stressor, with the highest concentrations in the relaxing music and lowest in the sound of rippling water. After the stressor, baseline values were reached considerably faster in the relaxing music group. Findings indicate that music listening impacted the psychobiological stress system. So those, again, hormonal and physiological aspects of the stress. And so, translation, in case it wasn't clear, relaxing music was what brought down the stress response more effectively than the rippling water or the acoustic version. So in conclusion, if you haven't had music in your life lately, bring it back. And I would say on the daily. And you might notice that it not only brings the joy, but brings the peace. And who knows, maybe even the baby too. Until next time. I'm really happy you've tuned in and joined the community, and I'm so excited to bring you more helpful content with each episode. In order to make this podcast as helpful as possible, I want to hear your input on what questions you need answered to get you feeling empowered on your fertility journey. You can DM me on Instagram at @Naturna_life or @naturallycb to share your most important fertility related questions. And if you're enjoying this podcast, please follow and share with friends. My mission is to help as many women and couples as possible. And for that, I need your help. Yours as always in love and light, Dr. Christina.